Well, good evening, everyone. This is Tony Renfro with Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. This is a show that we do every Sundays and Tuesday evenings. Power Knowledge is Power Podcast Live is a platform to share information and imparting information by educating Southeast Texas African American communities with valuable info on health, education, local politics, business, and personal finances. And I hear some of the announcements we have to make here this evening before we get started. Jefferson County Democratic Headquarters, 2211 Calder Street, is now open. That's right. The Democratic Headquarters for Jefferson County is open, and it's located at 2211 Calder Street from Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 2 to 6 p.m. You can pick up your yard signs, your 2020 censors, your voters' registrations, and a lot more. Our candidates that's running and in November on the November ballot would be Adrian Bell for U.S. Congress. She's a Democrat running for District 14. So let's make sure we support our candidates, and also our write-in candidate, Mary Parkinson. So you have to write in Mary, Mari, when you go to the polls and vote for. She's a write-in for the Jefferson County Commissioner Precinct 1, the voice for the people. And remember, early voting is October the 13th through the 30th. And let's see here. We have our favorite sheriff, Jefferson County Sheriff Zena Stevens. We're going to re-elect Zena Stevens for our sheriff again. And we want your support for Sheriff Zena Stevens. And we also have another candidate that is running and on a Democratic ticket, and that's named Jay Sterneberg. He's running for Texas Senate District 4. Jay has been on the show, and we'll be back on the show again. And I want to let you guys know that we're going to have all the candidates back one show at a time. So please join us on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. And these are the candidates that is running all together. So make sure you support our Democratic Party. I'm missing somebody. Yes, Joe Desatel. Remember, Joe Desatel, our Texas state representative also. Tonight, I have my good guest tonight. It's going to be from Port Arthur, Texas, the group from Port Arthur, Texas. Let's see here. Yes, right. The mayor of Port Arthur, Thurman Bill Bartie. Hello, Bob. Hello, Bill. And Judith Brooks, the director of health director in Port Arthur, and Jeremy Houston, sorry, and the deputy chief, R.L. Havens. Hello, guys.
Hello, Johnny.
This show here is designated to the city of Port Arthur and all the citizens of Port Arthur. And I know we've gone through a lot. We've gone through COVID-19, and we're still going through COVID-19. We've had 2020 been a mess. We've had the evacuation. What else we've gone through here lately? Who knows? But I just hope September just comes sit down somewhere. Let's get through this year. I've had my favorite cousin Judith Smith on before, and we talked about coronavirus, and she's given us updates on COVID-19 in the Port Arthur area. And I've also had the mayor on before, but tonight, I want to make sure that the people of Port Arthur, Texas, know that we are supporting them. We're behind them, and we want to give them all the important information they need. And tonight is tonight. So take it away, Bill.
Okay, well, thank you. First of all, thank you very much. Charlie, a friend of mine from many years ago. Our hair was black and thick and afroed out, but he's still my friend even today. But I was thin in hair and it's great. But God is good. Charlie and I were just talking about that because to have known one another for 40 plus years, it's a blessing. And to watch even our lives go through all of the vicissitudes that God has permitted us to go through, yet we remain standing, viable, and active in our community. And with that being said, I want to thank some of Port Arthur's finest and he's introduced them, but I just want to acknowledge their presence again. One, and Ms. Judith Smith, who is the Director of Health here, of Public Health, here in the city of Port Arthur, and actually in South County, if you really want to be technical. And also, I have Deputy Chief Jeremy Houston, and who is the Deputy Chief of the City of Port Arthur Police Department. Yet he is our emergency management coordinator for us now, and he has a very able assistant, someone who has been in this position for a mighty long time, who is very knowledgeable, and it's just totally valuable to Port Arthur and the South County and Jefferson County, if you really want to know. Okay, and what I've even found out, he's valuable to the state, because if you really want the state man, you let him know, and we get results from it. And that is in Mr. Louis Havens. Okay, and I have a running joke. You know, I'm going to say it, Louis. He has a government name, but I'm not going to even say what his government name is. Okay, but it's Louis Havens, and he is our deputy fire chief. Okay, yeah, he is a very knowledgeable person. And whenever Tony spoke with me and asked me about coming on, he said, "Well, Phil, I want you to come on to the show." I said, "But I have no problem." I said, "But I'd like to bring on individuals who are part of what I call my team, and it's no way that I could be successful in my tenure as mayor and during my mayoral administration here in the city of Port Arthur if I were not blessed with individuals who actually know exactly what's going on and how to provide for you, the citizens of the city of Port Arthur, and in some cases, the citizens of South Jefferson County, and there have been other times for the citizens of the entire region." Okay, and I can tell you, folk in Port Arthur have played major roles in decisions and in the implementation of different facets that have been very helpful in health and in emergency management for us for the past years, and for sure for this past year that I've served and privileged to serve as mayor of Port Arthur. Now, we have gone through hurricane, we've gone through evacuation, we have gone through, and we are going through COVID-19. We're going through several things simultaneously, yet we are still standing. Now, we aren't just standing because we're so smart, we're not just standing because we're so great, but now, I know Ms. Judy would agree with this, favor ain't fair, okay? But because we have favor, you know, a lot of folks don't like me when I say these things, but I cannot do or cannot come from where I have not ever been, and I must embrace that which I know. And that is that God's favor has been upon the city of Port Arthur. Now, when I say God, I always will tell you this: whomever your deity is, that's who you would put in that place when I say God. I think everyone knows when I say God, whom I am speaking of. Okay, but with that in mind, and I must do it, and I have to do it. It's politically correct if I correct it and say it the way I just did, and I just did that. But because of that favor, we have been and we are being blessed. I am blessed to have with me at this moment a young lady who can give you information about COVID-19. Now, we're going to get to the others to talk about the hurricanes and preparedness, because guess what? If I'm not mistaken, we still have almost a month and a half left, or maybe 2 months left in the hurricane season. Okay, even though we're having a good cool down, I hope that'll really, really be helpful to us. But in light of all of that, I believe it was on yesterday, Governor Greg Abbott, our illustrious governor here in the great state of Texas, extended again his emergency order and the disaster decree for COVID-19, or for the coronavirus in the state of Texas. We have some numbers that are decreasing, yet we have not totally contained it. So, Ms. Smith, what could you share with us about COVID that just needs to be reiterated? I don't think we're saying anything new, but just as a matter of reiteration. Help us out.
Mhm. Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me, Mr. Renfro, on your program. Actually, there is nothing new, basically, that we are reporting. We definitely keep saying, the same thing, that we're still supposed to wear a mask when we're in a public place, and especially when social distancing is not available, that we're supposed to wash our hands, use hand sanitizers, that we are supposed to stay home if we're sick. We started testing at the Jefferson County Airport March the 24th. Port Arthur reported their first case March the 27th. And, from March up until now, we have seen increases, and we've also have seen decreases. But, and it depended basically on maybe what's happening in the area at the time. Like after holidays, after Memorial Day, after July the 4th, we saw like an increase, and then we kind of leveled off. So, I mean, we're very far from the end of this pandemic. And, I think that's the most important thing that we want people to know, that we're still in the midst of it. We just recently had a holiday. We had Labor Day, and we had post-evacuation, where we know that many people had to evacuate either to a shelter or to homes where families that they had not been around for a while. So, we may see those numbers increase a little bit, but overall, I think that our community, Port Arthur and South Jefferson County, has done pretty good with following the mask mandate and just those things that have been put in place to help reduce community spread. Community spread is there, and once community spread starts with a virus, it's sometimes really hard to contain it. But we believe that if people just continue to follow those things that are in place, especially wearing the mask when in public, that we really hopefully will at least get it under control, and even have a flu season that is not as bad as last year. Because when you're doing those things, those non-pharmaceutical things that we're doing to help prevent COVID, we're also doing those things to help prevent us from getting the flu. So, our numbers are still, we're still reporting some numbers daily. And, hopefully the more we test, the less we start, the more negatives we receive. And that's the goal. A lot of people feel like, well, the more you test, the more positives you're going to get. But we hope through our contact tracing and finding people who are positive quickly, that the more people that we test, the less positives we will receive. So.
And Ms. Smith, now, when we did the testing on last week, and I received some text this morning, because there are some individuals within our city who are even still concerned for testing. They weren't able to be tested for whatever reason last week, and so they were trying to find the free testing this week. My answer to them was I wasn't sure about any testing this week. So are we in line for some testing in the future? I remember Carmen had told me about us being able to test per Louis. This was after the 15th. So are we still on y'all for that testing availability?
Yes, sir. We're going to be testing at the Civic Center on Wednesday the 16th and Thursday the 17th of this month.
Okay, so the closest date that we will have will be the 16th and the 17th. And I thought this is what we had discussed, but I didn't write it. And so when I was asked this morning, they specifically asked about this week, and I told them I wasn't sure about one for this week at all, but that we would probably have some, but I didn't want to lock down a date. But if we are able to do the reversal in the numbers, that would be in direct correlation with Mayor Bartie's Turn Down the Numbers project that we still have, that's still on the web page, I'm still asking folks to take the pledge to do what's necessary with those things that you just spoke about, Ms. Smith, to do that would turn the numbers down. But we have some instances, I know of some in particular, of some individuals who did evacuate. And they were really glad that we had made available to them the possibility of being tested. And there were individuals in their household who returned basically asymptomatic, but they are positive. And now, what other folks had a concern for was those individuals were told to that they would need to be away from others in that form for 10 days instead of the normal 14 that folks had been given. Medically, how has those days changed? I know the CDC changed that. Can you give them a...
Yes, well, yes, sir. Well, the thing is that CDC guidelines did change. And so what the 10 days talks about is now we go 10 days from the onset of symptoms. This is only for a person who is confirmed to be COVID positive. It's 10 days from the onset of symptoms and at least 24 hours of being fever-free and not having to take any fever-reducing medication. So if a person is asymptomatic, then we go 10 days from the date that they took their test. Okay. If they took their test on a certain day, we count 10 days from that day. Since they have no symptoms, we can't base our release of quarantine on them, on their first day of symptoms. We have to go on the date that they actually took their test. Now, for a person who is a direct contact, that quarantine period is still 14 days.
Okay.
Still 14 days. It's still 14 days, regardless if they go 10 days later and have a test done and they're negative. CDC still recommends a full 14-day of quarantine if you're in a direct contact with an individual who is COVID positive. They look at direct contact as being within 6 feet, within the 6 feet, for 15 or more minutes. And CDC basically says it could be with or without a mask on, simply because they don't know the type of mask the person has on, or if the person is actually wearing the mask correctly. Now, we kind of judge it a little bit, when we get a full detail when we're talking to contacts, but basically, that's what CDC recommends.
Okay, and I think that probably explains it for several folks you would have, because there were some questions that were about it, and I really wanted to have your professional explanation and opinion, and hopefully they basically understand that. Now, Deputy Chief Jeremy, with our management, I would call it, for our hurricanes, disaster management. You and Deputy Chief Louis have done a tremendous job. I know I've told you thanks before, and for all of those who worked with you, again, thank you all. And you all did a stellar job during Hurricane Laura. I know it was incumbent upon me to make the call. I know once I made the call, all of you made it happen. Okay, from the Smith being there with a tandem of nurses, being sure that those who were leaving were given medical clearance, so to speak, to you all really working out way ahead of time that Walker County would be the place to receive our folk, whom we would personally evacuate via our state transportation. You all set up the transportation for the buses, from the school buses to the state issued buses. You did a great job on emergency management. Tell us, Jeremy, what does that consist? I just sort of gave a synopsis of it, well, what you all did, but y'all do so much more, man.
Well, the city of Port Arthur emergency management team responsibilities are a shared responsibility between the Port Arthur Police Department and Port Arthur Fire Department. It consists of myself sitting as the emergency management coordinator, Chief Louis Havens over there sitting as the deputy chief EMC. We also have special consultant, past emergency management coordinator John Owens, and the emergency management coordinator, deputy chief Michael Freitas. We all work as a team together to pretty much capitalize on extensive in-depth knowledge of all disaster preparedness and response capabilities between both the fire department and the police. Pretty much what we do is we coordinate all citywide planning, preparation, and mitigation plans in reference to major incidents, disasters, and also as it pertains to hurricanes. We also coordinate all emergency preparedness and response training and continuing education for all, not just police and fire, but also citizens who are willing to learn. We maintain a prominent role with our local and state homeland security initiatives. We got good relationships with the United States Coast Guard and Maritime Security Council, the Southeast Texas Waterway Advisory Council, the U.S. Attorney Anti-Terrorism Advisory Council, Sabine Nature's Chiefs Association, and also the Texas Department of Emergency Management. And we keep good relationship with them to stay on task with everything that's going on in reference to emergency management.
Okay, and Lieutenant, not Lieutenant, but Deputy Chief Louis, a lot of the logistical things that you take care of. Let us know, and let our listeners know who are joining us here on Knowledge is Power, because now we're giving them some power as to how I don't want to say difficult, but I know it is. All of the different changes that you have to go through, besides both of you having what your regular duties are in both of your departments. You know, this is the job that you all are doing, or really at my request, okay, that I've requested that you all do it. So all of the different facets that you go through to work with all the logistics. Tell us about that. Hit it, unmute, Louis. Let me see something. Can't hear you.
There we go. Let's
Okay.
see. You know, a lot of what Jeremy said is really the core of what we do. All those different agencies that he was speaking of, and all those different organizations, we spend quite a bit of time throughout the year meeting with those people, planning, getting updates. I mean, going into hurricane season this year, you know, the 3 months leading into the hurricane season was, if you want to call it, the first quarter of COVID. And we knew going into hurricane season that there was going to be a lot of changes from what was considered normal hurricane operations in the past, should we have a storm headed our way. Consequently, there was a lot of those agencies that Jeremy mentioned, the Texas Department of Emergency Management and the Texas Department of State Health Services is another that we met with on quite a few times in order to discuss things like social distancing during evacuations. And you mentioned, you know, you called for the evacuation, you put in your disaster declaration, you called for your evacuation, and then it was time for us to start making the wheels on the truck go around. And what that meant with social distancing requirements in place, that meant we needed almost 3 times as many buses to transport people as we otherwise would during a non-COVID season. Also, it meant that the shelters that were being utilized to shelter people throughout the state of Texas, it meant that the capacities of those shelters in many cases were anywhere from 1/3 to 1/4 of what they would have been in any other time. So it did. It put a strain on the resources. I mean, anytime there's a storm, there's a strain on resources, and those who act first typically have a better opportunity at receiving assistance from the state. So you were one of the first, or if not the first, chief elected official in this area to go ahead and make your disaster declaration and implement an evacuation order. And what that allowed us to be able to do was to get out ahead of the game just a little bit. And sometimes it's just that those couple of inches that make all the difference in the world. Ask any football coach, he'll tell you that. And by just having that one day and a half heads up, we were able to start the machine moving in our direction. And we were able to get buses dedicated. We were able to get resources dedicated. Our resource requests were able to travel through normal channels at a much faster rate because, quite frankly, for about 24, 36 hours there, we were the only game in town. And the state was providing us all the support that they possibly could to help us out in our hours of need.
And one thing I really found out, and I appreciated this, and you just said it, being the first to call the mandatory evacuation. I want everybody to know, man, that is a very heavy burden that's laid upon you. And I remember telling you three, well, Jeremy, Deputy Chief Houston, Deputy Chief Havens, and Major Owens. I said, man, I'm shaking like a leaf on a tree. And I think you all actually saw it when my thumb was shaking when they brought the document for me to sign. And I mean, I had prayed again. I'm just happy to be who I am and let you know what happened. I had prayed before I left my house, and I called my very good friend, your apostle, Ms. Smith, Apostle Glenn Alexander, who's a very good friend. And I was driving down here to my office to go to a meeting. And I said, man, I just need you to pray with me before I get out of my car. And I said, the prayer is that I want to make the right decision based upon the information that I have. But we had met Saturday after you all, both my emergency management persons had gone to a session. And it was basically, again, if I would do the voluntary evacuation of the low-lying areas, which was Sabine Pass and Pleasure Island. But we had been given information since Thursday that showed that maybe this was the right thing to do. It was just that when we would do it. And again, I appreciate you all, but I remember one thing that all three of you told me. Said, well, man, if you weren't nervous, if you're not shaking, man, we would think something is wrong with you. I don't know if y'all, but that resonates with me even right now, because I thank y'all because y'all let me know that it was normal. But this was being my very first rodeo in this capacity. It was a weight, but you all began immediately doing everything that you needed to do. And I want the citizens to know, those who are listening here now to it live and those who will even listen even at some later date on any one of the meetings, that if a leader is going to lead, he or she has to lead and vacate the fear factor. Okay? And vacating the fear factor is actually dealing with what even this show, I think, stands for, that knowledge is power. Standing upon the knowledge that you are given through information. Okay, when you are given the proper information. And trust in your deity, if you will, that what you're doing is what his will is. And with that, I just had to do it. Others and even standing, I appreciate you all again, because you all stood with me with it. And not that I needed to be stroked, but a couple of days later, several folk on our team told me, said, man, you did the right thing. Even if you think you didn't, or if some folk are saying you did the right thing. And I saw it because Chief Abrams just brought it out. You all were able to put things in motion at a time when you had 100 buses because no one else in the state had requested any, right?
That's right.
Okay.
If you're going to have a storm, you want it to be the first storm of the season, and you want it to only be you, because you can get all the resources out of the way.
Yeah, and I just want you all to know the state committed to 100 buses right then, and now we even have joining us our epidemiologist for the city of Port Arthur, Ms. Martha Simeon, who works right alongside Ms. Judith Smith in being sure that, I guess, whatever that big word means, she makes that happen. And that's something dealing with the epidemiology part of this COVID. And Ms. Simeon, I saw you working with Ms. Smith and your other cadre of healthcare professionals there at the Civic Center. I guess you all call it triage, triage the patients, if I'm saying the right term. Dealing with COVID in that setting of Laura. Explain to us just where were you with that? Yes,
can you hear me, Mayor?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't hear me. It was a challenge for us to do something totally different. Like Louis stated early, this is not what we had expected when it comes to hurricane and have to evacuate. So trying to get everyone into place and knowing that we had a pandemic out there, it was a challenge. But by the tools that we have from the state and from our team with our health director and our staff, we were able to troubleshoot everything that we possibly could. There are some times that you're going to have some things that fall along the wayside, but we were able to make those changes and adjust to a lot of things along with the region and the state when we located that we had a positive COVID patient within our process of evacuating. But all the tools came into play and we were able to get that done. So again, with all the support of the team and emergency management, we were able to make everything work appropriately. And now we still have the challenge once they have come back. And then once we've had the holidays that we just completed, we still have a challenge of COVID-19. And it's just not going away, but we have things in place with more testing.
Right. Well, thank you for that. And to the listeners again, I think the one message that continually and has continuously resonated from this group and from any group that you've probably been around is that COVID-19 is not gone away. We just had on yesterday, Labor Day, and we had the days prior to that, the Labor Day weekend. And I know several individuals went out to Crystal Beach and the Bolivar Peninsula and some even over to Galveston and, well, anywhere that you could have found in the water to the lake and just tried to enjoy yourself. And look, no one is finding fault with you doing that. However, if you did it in an unsafe manner, and doing it, I think, in an unsafe manner would be you were involved, you did not wear the mask, you did not try to socially distance, or you strayed away from the group of individuals whom you've been around these last few months that you know probably are COVID, they know they are COVID status, and they are basically COVID free, but you moved into groups of individuals probably larger than 10 and other things of that nature. What can actually occur, you all, is that you might live through it, but you may be in a multi-generational home setting, or you may even work in an environment where there are others of an older generation that you are constantly coming into contact with. And maybe even if you're wearing the PPE, if you become asymptomatic and you don't know it and you're there and those poor individuals there are depending on you to assist them in their lives, yet you're coming in and you're bringing this dreadful virus to them, That's not what they actually have asked for. Okay, so I would want us to just be real cautious, real cognizant of what's happening now. To Port Arthur in particular, I believe these four individuals let you know that you are in good hands. Okay, I applaud each of them for you. Okay, since you can't do it, I have to speak for you. Being your mayor, duly elected by you, to Ms. Smith, Mr. Houston, Mr. Havens, Ms. Simeon, the citizens thank you. Even though they might do things or say things that may not sound thankful, they actually thank you. Because if we didn't have you, do you all know what type of shape we would be in? I mean, do you all know and understand where we would be if we did not have someone administering whatever needs to be administered so that they can probably stay COVID free? If they did not have someone, if they happen to be unfortunate enough to contract the disease, but have no one who asks them the proper questions so that they can even probably find out where that they even come in contact and to whom they have been in contact with that might be vulnerable to it. Do you know how dreadful this would be with individuals and people who care? Now, there still may be others who have no desire for someone else. And, takes all types of folk to make up the world. So we have some of those. But I think the majority of individuals would want to care about and for those whom they come in contact with. Now, in Port Arthur, Deputy Chief Jeremy, when does the hurricane season end?
For the hurricane season, we still got a little ways to go. We go all the way until November. Okay. So we still are watching right now. And we still watching right now actively. Of course, I'm looking at the news and I'm seeing a couple of storms out there now. So we still got until November to continue to stay prepared, stay on guard, and be ready for the when we get the call.
Okay. Now, also, Deputy Chief Havens, just suppose something else happens and it's not a hurricane. Suppose they, God forbid, I don't even want to say it, but suppose they unload something out there at LNG and something goes haywire. What would we have to do?
Well, the very first thing that we would do if we had a local technological disaster like that is we would implement our local mutual aid plan. We would do a Sabine Nation Chiefs Association request for assistance from the other fire department and industrial groups in the immediate area. That would allow us to draw on an extensive amount of manpower, equipment, and expertise to assist us with the response. We routinely cross-train with our industrial partners in this area. Jeremy and I have interfaced directly with all of the major industrial partners around here in the last 6 months. And we do that on an annual basis. Anyhow, at that point, we would also ask if it was a significant enough event. We would recommend that you declare either a local state of emergency or declare a local disaster. At that point, we would push information up to the state to start requesting state assistance should we need it. There are certain response groups and response assets that we could bring in from beyond the region to allow us to provide assistance. One of the things that we were able to do in conjunction with the Sabine Nation Chiefs Association, whenever they had the refinery explosion over in Deer Park, spring of last year, was we were able to provide assistance to that group from our group. And I feel certain that with just a couple of phone calls, we could get that type of assistance provided to us from those people as well. Anyhow, the disaster process, the notification process is very similar regardless of whether you're dealing with a natural emergency like a hurricane or a technological emergency like a refinery explosion, or even some type of civil unrest or terrorist activity, which is primarily a law enforcement issue. In all of those cases, the the notification communication pipeline is very, very similar, and we attack it initially with local resources. We make a request from the state, who then in turn provides us what assistance they can, and then the state, if it's of a great enough magnitude, request assistance from the federal government, and then they provide what assets and resources they can provide as well.
Okay, so and the reason I asked that question was because of what occurred last year in November, following the end of hurricane season. But then we had a natural, a retirement situation on Thanksgiving Eve. You know, bringing in the holiday season with a bang. Okay, that was actually in the form of an explosion at a local refinery, and it wasn't in Port Arthur per se. Yet Port Arthur actually came to the aid of a neighboring city in Port Neches, and all of we had the command center and other things that actually afforded us in the city of Port Arthur to be able to help the region. And you just even said even in Deer Park. So if we are unfortunate, and we pray God that that doesn't happen, we are even prepared for this, and all of this falls under what you all do with emergency management. Now, if that were to happen, right now, Ms. Smith and Ms. Simeon, you all will become involved because COVID is still among us, you know, and we will be faced again with, I would say, something that hopefully wouldn't be fatal, but it would still be tragic in that folks would have to be displaced. And because of COVID, that movement would be under duress. It would be under duress anyway, but it would be more, even under more duress, I would say, because of the medical situation or challenges that we face with COVID. So again, citizens, I want you to know that these four individuals and the folks and the team that they each are working with are actually great professionals who are prepared for all of these various scenarios that can occur. Now, in my 13 months now, almost of being 14 months of being mayor of Port Arthur, I've experienced 3 to 4 to 5 disasters in some shape, form, or fashion. Okay, to the extent and degree that I would say, man, you know, this is a lot more than I bargained for. Okay, yet it's something that I'm thankful to God that I have individuals who are knowledgeable in these various areas to provide me with information, okay, about situations that the Constitution and the codes in the state of Texas say that I'm in charge of, okay? So you can't be this way out leader and not have a cadre of knowledgeable individuals whom you are not afraid to call upon. That's like tonight, I was not afraid to ask these individuals to join me on this webcast of Knowledge is Power. I was not afraid. I would not be afraid at any time to have them join me at anything that deals with the city of Port Arthur and where we are right now. Now, and we're probably almost at the last 7 or 8 minutes of this podcast of webinar. I don't know, I'm probably a misnomer, but you all know what I'm talking about. I guess you can't call it a telecast anymore, but it's probably that too. So I got 3 things. I don't know what it really is, but we're being viewed, okay? And it is just a blessing for us to be able to share with our community, to share with our region, to share with whomever is listening. Information that is very, very pertinent to survival in the city of Port Auburn. One thing I would ask you to do is to remain vigilant. All of the citizens of Port Auburn, remain vigilant because of COVID. Ms. Smith, our last report on numbers, and not to cast a dark shadow on this, but did we not have a couple of deaths last week from COVID?
We did. I know that we reported one last week. I reported one also today.
So we still
Yes.
have citizens who are succumbing, or they succumb to this dreadful disease. And now, a lot of folks want to rely or just lean toward the fact that they had other underlying medical issues. And I am not a medical person, so I guess that is significant. Yet, maybe they could have been, I guess, what you call in your profession, Ms. Smith, contributing causes, right? If they had high blood pressure, if they were overweight, or if they had diabetes, or some other comorbidity.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, having underlying health conditions can be serious with someone that have COVID. The only thing is that with this virus being so new, we have no idea how it will affect people. A person can be perfectly healthy and develop this disease and can actually have some serious complications, even long-term complications. So we can't just assume because we're healthy and because we may not have those comorbidities that we will do well. We just don't know. So that's why we still have to do what we can to help prevent ourselves and our loved ones from
Right. So
actually
you just
becoming
said
infected.
another key thing there. If we are vigilant and dutiful in not gathering in numbers larger than 10, if we are vigilant of always wearing our mask properly, you know, hey man, I keep it with me at all times, even when I'm by myself. I might be scared of Thurman. You understand? I mean, I'm kind of humorous. I'm trying to make it light. So I put it on so I won't hurt me. Okay? And I certainly don't want to hurt you. Okay? Now, because of it, I've jumped out of my car in the store and forgotten it and walk up to the door and say, oh, wow. You know, and I can recall one day going in the store and walked in. I'm the mayor of Port Arthur. I said, by the way, I met. But I was thinking about getting this juice in the store and jumped in and they said, well, where you going, man? I'm running back to my car. And I was holding my hand over my face, not because I didn't want to hurt anybody, but I didn't want anybody to hurt me either. You understand? And I know how it could be, so I understand that, but I don't want us to be one of the obstinate individuals. Because I'm not wearing a mask. I've heard folks say, well, I'd be glad when they just stop this mask thing. But if wearing a mask is going to keep us from from contracting the disease and then being a carrier and spreading the disease, what we call that community spread, you know, we want to do what is right. Now, Ms. Simeon, if I would happen to test positive, then I have to speak with you, right? Or somebody from your side of the office, right?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
That's okay, correct. And what type of questions y'all gonna be asking me? Because somebody told me they didn't want to be doing it because y'all be trying to get information for the government. I'm telling you what some people they call here and say.
Well, we do two forms. Once the report comes to us by the private provider or the hospital or some of the urgent care facilities, when we get the paperwork, we look at the paperwork. We make sure that the person is positive for their test. Then we go in and we actually call them and we give them various questions. We ask them about their signs and symptoms. We ask them when the last time wherever they where they work. We ask them various questions through a spreadsheet that we have. Once we complete that, then we give them a quarantine time. And that quarantine time, if you had direct exposure or you're positive, then you have a quarantine date of 14 days. Then we look at the people that you've come in contact with. Then we have contact tracers who follow up after we finish doing the major work. So it is not like what you're saying. It is a process. When we look at a protocol, we follow it to the T. It's guidelines that have come from CDC that we follow.
Okay, and I appreciate, and I really want you, the professionals, to explain this, because my office gets called, or they see me somewhere, they stop me. Those who have a number of someone of some crook of the trade to call me, because I received the call where one person said they were positive and they were not going to speak with you, and your office had called them. But I told them it wasn't a law that I could turn them in. I said, but she's trying to help you get better and help others whom you've been around, because you didn't know that you were, and I used the term sick, and they told me, it corrected me immediately. I'm not sick. I don't feel bad. Well, you're not infected. So I've learned then, even with some persons who are positive, that terminology really offends them. And maybe
we have those situations.
Yeah, so y'all know how to deal with.
We have those situations.
Okay, so and as long as they, you all keep trying them, and I know your job isn't easy, because you have those who are going to be reluctant and almost combative on speaking with you, or even giving you all of the true information that you need. Deputy Chief Houston, in your quest of being, this is your first rodeo, so to speak, just use that terminology, as emergency management director or coordinator for the city of Port Arthur, what's your feelings and your final thoughts to the citizens?
Well, Mayor, I feel like right now we have the best team. We have the best team available. Chief Havens with the knowledge that he has, our special consultant John Owens, Major Freitas. All of the people involved in emergency management. We have the best team available. We have the best team around, and we're ready to provide. We're ready to provide for these citizens anything that we can do to help them or assist them in any way, form, shape, or fashion. So rest assured, Mayor, we got you back. We're gonna do the best job that we can do for you guys out here in the city.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Chief Owens, Chief Stewart, he's coming back on. You got some final thoughts?
Well, Mayor, all I would ask citizens is to try to be prepared. We still got about half a season to go through. Make sure your medications are up to date. Have yourself a little go bag ready in case you need a bug out of town, and listen to the weatherman. We're here to provide assistance when assistance is needed. It's all about taking care of the people.
Okay, and Ms. Judith, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts for me is that when a reliable vaccine comes for COVID-19, our health department staff going to be boots on the ground, ready to immunize those who are willing to take it.
That's it. Well, look, to each of you, I appreciate you. I know I did tell you, and I want to stay true to my word. And I see my friend Ms. Renfro, Tony, and come back on, that I said by 8 we'd be through. Thank you all for joining me on this and disseminating information to the citizens and the listeners of the Knowledge is Power show, and disseminating information to the citizens of Port Arthur that deals with basically what Mr. Renfro said, the state of Port Arthur. And right now, the state of Port Arthur, and we find it as far as dealing with emergency management, dealing with COVID, we are under the care of able-bodied, knowledgeable individuals who They are, each of these individuals is willing, ready, and able to help you, the citizens of Port Arthur. And know, as your mayor, I don't make a move, or I won't make a move without information from either of those individuals, either individually or collectively, along with others who may both alluded to, so that we would make the right decision for you, the citizens of Port Arthur. I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for being on with me. It is now 7:59, and we are through. So, Tony, you can come back.
Thank you so much, and it's been a thank you so much, guys. You all have done a wonderful job doing the evacuation, and Thurman and your team, Mayor, your team is a great team. And when you first started to evacuate early, I said, "Oh, you jumped the gun," but you didn't. You did the right thing, and you had your team in place, and y'all did a wonderful job evacuating your people and getting everybody in line. So, with that said, God bless you all. I love you, and remember, knowledge is power. Thank
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you for having us, Tony.
you.
Thank you.